probably like a broken record from everybody out there that fools with saws, but wanted to show this first. You don't have to grind, you can file, that's fine. But if your chain's not somewhat pulling you into the wood, it is dull, and a ported saw's not going to do a thing for you. Hey guys, how is everyone doing? Hope you're doing well. Some of you probably wondered where this project went. It's been a couple weeks. I had to buy a piston and cylinder kit. I got a little crazy with experimentation, and we got a 48mm top end laying back here in the trash can now. But you know, it happens. It's no big deal. If you do enough of this stuff, you're gonna mess up. If I'm doing a saw for somebody, I don't experiment unless they ask me to do something, like simple man asked to cut boost ports or finger ports, whatever you want to call them, into his 50mm build we done on his 365, and that's the first time I'd done it in a cylinder that small. I'll admit they wasn't the prettiest things in the world. The second side looked a lot better than the first side, but they evidently worked because that was the strongest 50mm saw I'd built, and I don't know that we'll match it here because I'm having to use aftermarket parts, so we'll just have to see. I really wanted to do the 48mm, but you know, I've got a whole nother saw back here. 48mm jug on it, bone stock 365 special. We'll get into that one day and, you know, just see what we can do with that size of jug. But you know, it's a big quad port 65cc saw. It should be able to be made to run really strong. What do we got? If you're not familiar, your 365 special, one Johnsrud case, one Husqvarna case. I could have reused the Husky PTO case, but it was kind of busted out up around where the dog bolts on. And you know, I was painting saw, plastic and all, and it is painted with automotive acrylic enamel. I wanted it perfect to go on my collection and just something to pull out every now and then. But with that said, Farmertech top end, Little Red Barn pop-up. I know some people don't like them. I completely understand. I wish I had access to machine work close by, but I don't, and it is something we're looking for in the future. We had bought a mini lathe, it just was not going to work for what all I wanted to do. Took it back, and you know, in the future we're looking into something a lot bigger, but you know, it's going to be a while. I've got teenagers, and you know, it is what it is. Kind of hard to blow that much money, or for me, for a normal person it is. But anyway, enough of that crap. You guys ain't worried about that anyway. Port timing, really good, except for the transfers, and depending on who you are, you might think the transfer timing's great, and you know, depending on what you want, it may be, but not for me. I could just bolt this up as is, and you know, it'd probably run pretty good. And I think a lot of it has to do with that pop-up piston. I'm sure if we put the Farmertech piston that came with it in there, everything would be totally different. I know because the crown height was a little different and the bottom of the skirt height was a little different, but you know, you'll get that between one aftermarket company and another. Some people claim to completely match the OEM stuff. I've not ever seen it on nothing. Meteor's about the closest I've seen come to matching an OEM piston, and some people don't even like those, but you'll get that. It is what it is. Exhaust timing, 104.5. I checked it every way in the world, and I come up with that every time. Transfers 130. I may double check that with the ring. I usually just kind of get a piece of welding wire, 28 thousandths, hooked into the roof of that. It's always worked, never had a problem. I even double checked with the ring, and it's always about dead accurate. 130 is a little high in my opinion for what I like. I like a little less blowdown. It just seems to yield a little better torque. That could just be my own theory or my own opinion, but tear into enough old vintage saws and you'll find out why some of us like kind of a lower blowdown. And here over about the last year or so, I've really gotten fond of a later exhaust opening. My 372 big bore, both of them have really late exhaust openings compared to what you're used to seeing. Free chain speed's 14.2 on them, and it's tuned fairly rich there, so that may tell you something, it may not. Let's see, intake port opening dead on 75 degrees, that's awesome. 150 degrees of duration. I will clean it up a little bit. We may gain something, we may not. There is some casting flash in there, not a lot. This is actually one of the nicer Farmer Tech cylinders I've had my hands on. I'll show you when I get it off. All the ports are even, and you could just bolt this one right on and use it and not have a problem, I believe. We will move the transfers. I'll probably pull them back to 125. I'll put me a ring in there and make a mark, or I'm pretty sure I've got 50mm rings laying here everywhere. We may just put a ring in it and leave and grind down to it. Just depends on whether I've got a good marker or not. But anyway, with that said, that's the game plan. We'll open up our lowers, grind down the cylinder, the little lip at the bottom. If you're not familiar with that, I'll show it to you, but I guess this is kind of another how-to on how I'm going to go about doing this series of saw. I'll bring you back in a few when I've got it off of there. Just to look at this thing beforehand. Exhaust port, not too bad at all. There's room for improvement there, obviously. If you're new to these, the lip I'm talking about is right here. I'll show you how we knock that down. I've seen some people actually cut it out, but I'd rather take my time and, not take a chance of messing something up. But, everybody has their own way of doing stuff. Who am I to judge? We do like to judge if people claim that their way's the only way, and then we call them out on it. But you guys heard enough ranting in the last video I done. Not everybody loves it, guys. I know a lot of you love it, but yeah, not everyone does. Intake's not bad. Like I said, this thing just be bolted right on and used. What kind of edge have we got? There's not even any sharp edges. Let's look at the exhaust port again. It is not bad at all, really. Now it feels good, guys. What about the transfers? You guys know how this stuff was 2 or 3 years ago. It was horrible. Not bad at all. Yeah, you could just bolt this thing on and use it, I believe. And some of the first ones, I had put some on without touching them, and you didn't even get a tank through before you hung a ring. I had a couple 026s here and went through several of these things. We've done a lot of saws here over the last 5 or 6 years. You'd get some good and a bunch bad. Carburetors were horrible back then. I'm sure some of them are now, but this piston really nice. The Farmer Tech piston looked pretty good too. I've got it back here, and there's our painted plastic. Looked pretty good. This piston's pretty nice, but if I used it, I would have to use OEM wrist pin. The wrist pin come with it. They'd over polished it, I guess, and just the fit of it was really, really loose. You could just turn the piston up on its side and the wrist pin would fall out. And, you know, I'm sure most of you guys do it too, but guys, I really, really inspect this stuff before I put it on a saw. I don't have a whole lot of money in this tied up and rebuilding the bottom end of it, but I've got a lot of time in it, and, you know, your time should be worth something, I guess. But anyway, that's not what you guys are about, or, well, not why you're here. It's not what you want to hear. Some of you might, I don't know, but we're gonna get into a little port work. That's why you clicked on this video anyway, I guess, not to hear me run my mouth. Alright guys, so the first thing that I've done here getting into this port work is we put a ring in. As you can see, we're good 40-50 thou below that, and that just shows that, you know, our method of checking the transfers does indeed work. I did set it dead on 130, which is where I got that they were opening, and lo and behold, that's right where the ring was at, right about where the port would open. So hopefully I've got a good Sharpie, and we're gonna make some marks, and hopefully we can see them. If not, we'll just leave the ring and grind to the ring. It is the Farmer Tech ring, not the Caber, and we'll go from there. Oh, my bad. You guys want to see a porting video. You don't want to see that. Alright, guys. I'll try to video a little bit this right angle. Transfers are the first thing I do here, because honestly, that's where we're going to spend the majority of our time. And I have no idea why I sprayed that stuff down in both ports, but whatever, it is what it is. And if you're new to the channel, I'm sure YouTube will hammer me over it anyway, but country music's always pick up around here. I don't know why. It's just my radio out here. All the car stereos pick up whatever, but we stuck with country, but whatever. It's alright. No big deal. Ain't got a problem with country music. What I'm going to do is, in my opinion, a pop-up needs just a little bit more of an angle onto the transfers. More of an upward angle, just to clear that pop-up. I kind of do them different than I do regular cylinders. It may help, it may not. I don't know. It just seems like it's more of a common sense thing. And it ain't nothing I go crazy with. It ain't like a big steep slope. It's just a little bit. But we'll get started with a little porting here. I know one of you guys said you come here just for the music. That's a double cut bit. And the right angle has a really steep learning curve. I'd advise you just to be patient and practice. I like to get all the way back into the port. Do my own thing with it. You probably can't see crap, but you get the general idea of what we're doing there, guys. I'm having to watch this through the monitor, and it keeps timing out and going dim. We may do a little bit more on the camera, may not. We'll just have to see. I don't know how well this thing will pick up, or how well my lights are on it. You can see what I'm doing, but you can see what we done there. Those cutters are so aggressive, that line's already all but disappeared. If you can't see it, I really truly do apologize, but gonna move on over to the other one now, and then, you know, I'll go back over them, just really, really lightly clean things up, and we'll be ready to go to the other side and then hit the lowers. I really wish there was a way we could do this to where you folks could see better, but it just, you know, it is what it is. The smaller ports are a little trickier to do. Just start slow, take your time. If something binds up, stop and regroup. And you don't use this thing like you think you would. I know that means no sense at all, but it's just, again, I'll send you the CC Specialties webpage. That's who puts all these kits together. I'm not plugging them at all. One of their guys, I think it was, even came in on my rant video and basically said it was my fault the cable broke, but we just won't be grinding any more mufflers out with it and shouldn't have a problem. But doesn't take much. If you have good cutters, it really doesn't take a lot at all. We're already close to the line there, but you know, we wasn't moving it far. That's the plate you can hear it, it's really rough sounding. You know, and if something happens and this plating's pretty good, if you chip a little bit of plating while you're grinding, you know, do your best just to blend it back in. I'm going to be that guy that says anything below the roof of the exhaust port does not really matter. You know, if that was the case, cutting finger ports in would basically just be destroying a cylinder, but I'm just saying that to maybe help someone, you know, maybe not. If you get a little carried away and kind of get into your plating, as long as it's below the roof of that exhaust port and you're not cutting over to where you cause a condition where you're free porting, you know, 9 times out of 10 you're probably alright. I mean, I've seen videos where guys will chunk a cylinder because the plating's kind of flaking down around the bottom of it or something. That's just, I don't know, guys. I'll give you my address. You can send them to me and, you know, I'll put them to use. Don't throw them away. But just saying that, if you get one of these aftermarket ones and plating chips and the transfers or the intake port or something, you know, don't lose any sleep over it. I mean, it's a $20 cylinder, you know. Put it on there and run it and use it. 9 times out of 10, you'll be alright. But let me go ahead and finish these up. No sense in making this longer than it needs to be. And we'll get to this part of the transfers here and the lowers. Have no idea how well that'll pick up, but we'll try to get a good HD video of the port work once we're done with an actual video camera. But what we're going to do next, this lip, 9 out of 10 of you have seen this and know it anyway from other YouTubers, but we're going to pull that down, try to get it, you know, as neat and uniform as possible. It's kind of hard to get exactly perfect, but, you know, we all try our best, or at least ways a lot of us do, I guess. I'm going to pull it down just below the base. I have one as far down as this bridge, but in my opinion, you're just grinding away and losing a little more case volume than you need to. And that's one of those deals, too, where a little bit goes a long way. The more you cut out as far as case volume, the more it does move your power band and kind of pull away from bottom end grunt. But what little bit we're going to take away is not, you'd probably really even never notice it, but it will help increase RPM and upper RPM horsepower. Some people claim that it improves torque, but it may help throttle response, but when you're pulling away from your case volume, you know, that kind of the last thing it's doing is adding bottom end grunt. But again, you know, some people's torque theories may be different than others, but I'm just going off, you know, what I've learned doing this. But let me get set up and I'll bring you back and we'll cut one down a pretty good ways on camera just to give you an idea of how I do it. And I'm sure the YouTube police are gonna just flat out hammer me on that radio. They've not done it in a while, but every now and then, I guess the wrong song will show up, and yeah, it just is what it is. trying to watch this through this camera monitor. Not the easiest thing in the world to do. There's different ways of doing this, but this is how I do it. I end up the better, cleaner finish afterwards. Is it perfect? No, but it does work. And my camera just timed out. The screen's black. I'm gonna try to get it to where I can watch it without watching the camera monitor. And on your carbide cutters, contrary to belief, they really like being ran at a low speed. They don't clog up as bad. They don't shatter as bad. You end up the better finish. Now, if you do this different, that's cool. Make a video showing how. If you have a theory that you think's better than mine, make a video showing how I'm proving it. If you're in the comments talking about it, be nice, or we'll delete you. No name calling, no foolishness, you know. That's crazy. Believe it or not, we've dealt with that. Get a little pedal happy. It happens. And believe it or not, that's still not very fast with that thing. And what I will do too is I'll bring these corners back. These are pretty good to match. On some saws, if I've got the cases apart and the cylinder, I'll even pull them back and match to the cases, but honestly, it's about all the case matching I'd ever do. And I've really not seen much of a benefit from doing that, but just one of those deals you'd have to do a timed cut, pull it apart, and don't do that and tear the top of your thumb off. I have done that before. Could I do this faster? Yes, but I'm trying to make a video for you guys, show you how I go about doing it. It's down to about where I wanted it, so we're going to speed up and go to cleaning up a little bit, lighter strokes, just barely letting it touch. And I do recommend coming in and doing it from this angle. Let me make sure I've got you in frame. If you come in from this side with that big cutter, you're taking the risk of hitting this, and if you do, you're gonna have to pack a lot of glue in on that spot you hit, or maybe even take it and have the cylinder decked, or if it's a $20 cylinder, you may be better off just tossing it and trying again. But I do come in and clean this corner up from that side, but it's like this at a really, really steep angle. Just to knock that corner down and to make sure we don't have too steep of an angle going in. You can have too steep of an angle on this stuff. It may sound crazy, but it's the truth. You know, you're welcome to research. There's a lot of good books you can even download for free. You know, just search two-stroke tuning guide. You can download a PDF for free on your computer. Don't go over everything I'm discussing, but you know, it can help you out on some stuff. But that's about all we do as far as that. I'm gonna clean it on up off camera and do the other side, and you know, we'll bring you back when we go to open up the tunnels themselves. Alright guys, so I've changed the cutter again, and let me show these. I really do need to go over some Portland tooling. You buy these from CC Specialties, you're going to pay a fortune for them, but I will say the cutters that they sent with the kit, and I bought their two-stroke Portland kit, I think it was back in early January. For years, I used this and, you know, the Harbor Freight knockoff for them. That's a brand name Dremel. It's not a knockoff. You can buy this kit at Harbor Freight. It is not a Chinese kit. It is not cheap. One of the more costly things in their store, I guess. I think it was like 65 bucks. But they've stayed sharp. They work really well. And this is 1/4 inch tooling. If you're using 1/8 inch, you're probably stuck with going to CC Specialties or just buying you a bunch of cheap kits off of eBay. Stay away from the Dremel cutters. They just don't last very long at all. I do like their tile cutter. It does really well. I've got one here, but I'm not going to dig it out. But I do use it every now and then again. It's just a pretty good piece. But what I'm going to show you here is try to stay away from this area. I'm not telling you to not go into it, but you know, that's a thin area anyway. You're just, if you're using glue or gasket, either one, it's just making it a lot harder to seal up. And if you screw up and get into it and nick a little out, you know, don't lose any sleep over it. Just make sure you get it glued good there. But we're going to take some material out here and in the corners enough to where I can go in with my cartridge roll and my slotted mandrel and clean things up. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can really hog this stuff out. That bit pulls a lot of metal, a lot. And I kind of like to put a little bit of an angle on it all the way to the top, not over steep, but just a little bit. We'll move to the other side. Let's see, you might be able to see kind of what we've done. But again, you know, we'll get the actual video camera out and show most of this when we're done. I'm just pulling enough material to where I can get a, I think they're actually, it's either a 1/4 inch or 3/16 cartridge roll by 2 inch, 1/8 inch mandrel to go down in there and mainly clean everything up. You kind of get the idea of what we're doing. I'll finish that up off camera on the other side, and once we get to the cartridge roll, I'll give you a look back then. Alright, we went to cartridge roll. This one's a little worn, but I think it'll do what we're wanting to do. We're basically just wanting to clean this up in here. You know, I've hogged them out in the past. It just depends on what I'm doing with the saw, whether it's a big bore or not. But on this one, we're going to go in and do a cleanup, and we've, you know, removed quite a bit of material already anyway, so should be good to go here. And that's about half throttle. Again, you know, try to stay away from that edge. You know, these things have a hard enough time trying to seal up anyway. And, you know, some people may not agree with this. It may not be how you do it, but I've done it other ways. I didn't like the outcome. Let's try it my way. I mean, a lot of you guys will get farmer kits, throw the cylinder to the side and put a highway on it. Well, you know, just grab that farmer pit jug and play with it. I mean, if you build a lot of saws, you know, it shouldn't take you a few minutes to swap a top end out on a 372 anyway, but, you know, just to give my way a try. You know, I've tried everything in the world, and I just found what I like. I mean, for the kind of wood we cut here, we don't cut real big, huge wood, but most of what we cut's hard. And when I do get into big wood, saws just seem to still run about the same and hold their own, but we'll make sure I got you guys in frame. Yeah, we're good. And I know one of the last videos I just posted was a porting video, but whatever, you guys seem to enjoy them. They seem to drag in more of an audience. So we're going to start videoing a lot more. We're just cleaning up here. This leaves a really nice texture on the port. And, you know, I've ranted about it, others have ranted about it. I guess we all have our own opinion, but I know what works for me. I've done it both ways, and this seems to be it for me. But I'm going to go ahead and finish these up off camera. We'll bring you back and give you a look at it once it's done here. Alright guys, I'm running out of time here tonight. It is really late. Getting kind of chilly out here. We're going to work this intake port a little bit. I'll start with the entrance. There's a pretty good lip from whatever plating is on that. I've got a fresh cartridge roll on. You can do a big majority of your port work with these things. Some may agree, some may disagree, but I really like them. You know, they're kind of costly, I'm not going to lie. But what I like to do here, you can't even hardly see it on camera. You know, you may be able to, may not, but I'll kind of put a bevel around every one of my intake ports depending on what the saw is. Especially if it has a completely round port. But I try to get that on everything, but some, you know, it's kind of hard to do. But I'll start from there. And this port's pretty wide. I'll probably bump it some, but we're not going to do a lot with it. I'll video a little bit, kind of give you an idea of what we're doing here. A little different angle here. And when you first put these things on, they're pretty aggressive and pull quite a bit of material. But it does it in a really nice fashion. I mean, I really enjoy them. I've used them a lot over the years. If you've ever ported cast iron, these things are your friend. And I'll just sit and do that for a little bit. Let's see what we've got. Get up here in the light. You can already kind of see from this angle what I'm getting at. It's not a lot, just a little bit, you know. I'm going to stress this. I know everybody wants that magic number and the magic thing to do, and I'm not going to be blunt when I say it this time, but guys, just take your time, do a little bit at a time, especially if it's a really high dollar OEM cylinder. You can even talk to some of your top porters out there, do some research, go on the forums. A little bit is a long way, especially if you've never ported. It is really easy to screw this stuff up. If it's a $20 cylinder, who cares? Buy you 2 or 3 of them, practice with it. Come up with some numbers you like, but, you know, I like the late exhaust opening. You can go too late with it and get one that's, you know, really torquey, but a little lazy up top. But, you know, there's other ways to bring that back in. To talk about case volume again, you could leave a really high exhaust roof and, you know, move your RPM band up totally by case volume. And I'm sure that only goes so far, but, you know, you can transfer angles will dictate where the RPM and the peak power is at on the saw. Your intake port, I mean, If you do a little bit in each area, what I'm saying is you might come up with something you like, but you get an idea of what I'm doing here. I'm going to go ahead and clean this on up, and I'll give you a look at it, and, you know, that's probably going to be all I do here tonight, and we'll pick back up on it after the weekend. Well, hopefully this will pick up the finish on that. What I may do is, I don't know, that's really nice. I may or may not, when I get the slotted mandrel out for polishing, we may put a piece of 80 or 60 on. I think what I've got here is 80. And just go in and just to make sure that there's something I may have missed or I'm not feeling or seeing. What that does, it'll knock down imperfections. You know, it leaves a real nice finish. It does have a texture on it. I even go in and hit the transfers just to make sure I didn't miss anything with it. You know, it's unneeded, but it's just something I do. But we'll probably pick it back up on this maybe late Sunday evening or something. I don't know for sure, but honestly, it'll probably be sometime around the 1st of November before you guys see this. But we're going to take our time and do it, and, you know, put you guys together another, what I hope's a pretty decent video without a lot of ranting in it. But anyway, we'll pick back up in a day or two, guys. Alright, guys, we're back. It's Sunday evening. See if I can get you situated. We're going to work on the exhaust port. I've got the intake all but finished. Again, once I get the slotted mandrel on, we may go in with some really rough paper, and I just like to do it to mainly make sure there's nothing that I'm not feeling or seeing that I might have missed. I mean, this stuff don't have to be perfect, but, you know, if someone tears one of my saws down, you know, I want them to notice that, you know, someone's been in there and done something. But, and it's, you know, it's always good to try to make everything as good as you can make it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But we'll give you a look at it all once we get it done. But first I'm going to start by just slightly widening this exhaust port. On a OEM cylinder, I will say the plating's a lot harder, and you about have to go in. Some of them I've not had to with the carbide cutter to widen, but I've got a fresh roll on here, and the area of that port is about dead even with the rear of this roll. And what I'll do is just go in and work, and then I'll have a look and get the port where I want. I'm not going to go crazy on widening the port. This one has a pretty good shape to it already. It will be just a little more rounded on the sides when I'm done, but, you know, we'll give you a look as always. And then we'll do a clean up of the port, and, you know, we should be ready to get into polishing it. And won't be long then before we can get it on the saw. I don't know if I have a carb that doesn't need rebuild. I've got 2 or 3 carbs laying here. And I know somebody's going to cringe on this, but, you know, just give it a try before you knock it. Right now I'm just having a look, see if it's doing what I want it to do. We're looking pretty good. I'll move to the other side. Maybe I can get it to where you guys can see in the inside of that. I try not to go too crazy with the steep angle coming into the exhaust port, and there's reason behind it. Have a look and see. I'll try to get it in there where you guys can see, but you can probably already see things getting just a little different texture to it in there. I'm not going to do much more than that, and then we'll start cleaning the port up itself. Alright, we're going to get into cleaning up this port. Doesn't really need a lot. There's some pretty bad plating overhang on the outside of it, but surprisingly the entrance of the exhaust port looks pretty good, so shouldn't be a lot of work to get it cleaned up to where we can do a polish. I'm not going to go, you can take and open this up. It'll have a little bit of a bevel to it on top. It already has one on the bottom and a little on the sides. You can take that way out and then open your muffler up. It may help, it may not, but I just don't really do it anymore. I'll open it up a little bit. What little this roll will do, you know, some saws, if they have a big, huge, thick flange and a little bitty port, yeah, we'll go in and hog that out and open it up. But just on something like this, just, you know, I guess a work saw, you know, it's really not needed. And, you know, someone may argue that, but I get it. The only thing I will say is that you kind of want like a megaphone shape or reverse megaphone, I guess, because the exhaust is still trying to be expanded. You know, it's still trying to expand because it just went under an explosion. And a lot of that's the reason why an expansion chamber works so well. I have nothing against the guys that do straight pipes on saws, but it kind of makes me question if they even really understand how a two-stroke engine operates. They sound cool, they make the saw sound like it's screaming, but, you know, put a tack on it and you're probably going to be surprised. That old saying, you know, it just makes a lot of noise. So yeah, those things are pretty aggressive. If you've got a good, fresh, high quality roll on, they cut really well. And there's like a pretty good lump right there. I wish I had the other camera. That I don't really know if I'll try to knock it down and blend it in, but a lot of the times on stuff like that, if it's a deal with when the casting was poured, I've seen them just pull the whole area right out with the carbide cutter, and then it's a nightmare to fix, but we'll do what we can with it. It's not going to hinder the performance of the saw any at all. Which means we just need to work on this side a little more. And again, I'm going to stress, just take your time, don't get in a hurry. If it takes you a few days or afternoons or a week to get it where you want it, take your time. Anyone else that ports will tell you the same thing. I'm going to do a little blend job here now. And doing this cleanup and the polish may change the time on half a degree. It's not enough to worry about. Half a degree or a degree is not going to make or break your saw. You know, by the time you get down to where 1 degree is going to throw it over the hill, you've probably done gone and taken it too far anyway. I got in on the computer this morning and it does look like we're getting some pretty decent footage, so Move my thumb to where you guys can see. You can kind of hear it cutting that plating on the exit of that port there. This stuff can get time consuming depending on what kind of build you're going to do. You can spend hours on the transfers, or at least I have. You know, like I said earlier, we don't have access to doing machine work here. Not at the moment, so, you know, I have to kind of throw every little thing I can at a saw to squeak the most power out of it. Okay, guys, got the slotted mandrel. I've done a little 80 grit paper on it. This step is totally unneeded on the transfers. I thought about going over the intake one more time with this, but, you know, it looks really, really good. I'm happy with the finish on it and the way it turned out, so we're going to leave well enough alone there. All I'm doing here is just doing a little more extra fine cleanup work, and, you know, it'll leave that good nice 80 grit texture on it. But like I said, I've already been working on it a little bit, so I figured I'd show just a little more. And again, you know, this is totally unneeded. You don't have to do this. And you don't want that paper to hit your hand when it spirals out that way. I promise you this saw will have killer throttle response. And a lot of that I think is right here in these transfers. A lot of the saws I've done and I didn't touch the lowers. Just, I don't know, it could just be in my head, but just didn't. I don't seem to have anywhere near the throttle response that, you know, the saw does if everything was opened up in the bottom end. And I do realize it takes away from some bottom end grunt, but, you know, it's, in a lot of cases, it's probably not even enough to notice. But I'm going to get some more paper on that, and we're going to move over and do our first round of cleanup on the exhaust port, and then we'll step up to 1500 or 2000 with some wetter dry. And there is some places in this port I don't like. It was nothing, I could fix it, but it would really take more time than it's worth. And it's not that bad either. Like, there was some casting spill over I'd shown down here. Still is pretty decent lump there. I may just grab a flat file and try to knock it down, but, you know, it's not that bad. It seemed like, I don't know if you'll see it, there's a place here in this corner where the plating was hanging over and it just kind of flaked out. But again, you can spend hours and hours trying to make this stuff perfect, but it's $23 Chinese cylinder, so, you know, unless you have OCD or something, it's not going to do a thing to improve performance by fixing every little imperfection in it. But you still should try to make it look pretty good anyway. Alright guys, we're at the polishing stage. I thought I had the camera on when we were doing the cleanup in here with the 80 grit, which it really done a lot. There's actually that place here in the bottom. I actually ended up pulling out a flat file and knocking it down. If I didn't show that place on camera, I apologize, but I missed hitting the record button on that whole step. There's a place up here in the corner I don't care for, but it's one of them deals. It's really not going to matter. You probably don't even see it on the camera, but I can see it and I can feel it. It's not even worth straightening up or fixing, and just, you take that risk of butchering it up over just some little bitty spot that it's really not going to hinder performance that well at all. And what I've got is some spray lubricant in here. And I think this is 2,000 grit, maybe 1,500. And we're just going to polish at a pretty high speed. There's all different kinds of ways you can polish. This I found works the best, to be honest with you. For me, anyway. And you will get aggravated. Your paper will come off of that when you step down to the finer paper. Just put it back on and proceed. Alright folks, where are we at here? Cylinder work's finished, or at least weighs all I'm going to do with this one. You know, I'll get my intake boot, carb assembly and everything bolted on and set it right down on there. If your carb tray's bolted in, I'll just tell you that's the easiest way I've found to do it. It's a nightmare to get the boot on and off. Otherwise, I have done it. I don't like it, but sometimes things happen and you have to. We'll start with the exhaust port. It seems that's what everyone loves the most, although I'll never know why. But mirror finish polish, we widened the port, cleaned it up, about all we done. It will probably be about dead on 104, but who knows, we'll just have to see. Glue does make a tad bit of a difference, but it's not what you think. There's something I'm not liking. Okay, it just came off my fingernail. Again, inspect and double inspect this stuff. It is Chinese. Who knows what grade the kids were in that poured the forms. We'll go to the intake port. Really not going to be able to tell a lot by it. Really nice. Should be a high flowing port. This camera is actually picking up that texture pretty good. You can see there is a texture on it. Again, don't really need to get into that on every video, I guess, but whatever it is, what it is, other people do. Transfer ports opened up somewhat over stock, cleaned up real nice, changed our timing, put a little bit of an angle more toward the roof, or toward the back side of the roof on each one. May never pick up, then again, you can kind of see it, I guess, but again, on that stuff, learn that right angle, find a cutter that works for you, take your time, and things will probably go your way. If you don't have a right angle, let me pause you guys and I'll come back. And if I've not shown it, I don't remember if I have or not, I'm going to show you something you can use over that. Okay, so this is kind of a smaller one. I have these in all different sizes. As you can see, that's 1/8 inch. That is all I used for years. That'll fit in your small handpiece, or if you're using an 1/8 inch collet, or right into your Dremel. 9 times out of 10 you can get down in there, especially if you have the flex shaft Dremel with the pencil grinder on it. I have bigger ones, smaller ones, and you can also use, like, I know a lot of the Dremel kits or Chinese Dremel kits, such as, let's see, where is that thing? In here, you can buy this whole set at Harbor Freight. It'll come with the round grinding stones or cutter wheels, and the cutter wheels don't move so fast, but the grinding stones will actually move material pretty quick, and then you can go clean up with this. But if I'm just moving transfers a few degrees before I had the right angle, this is what I would use. But, you know, it may help someone, it may not. Just thought I'd share it. aftermarket kill switches, but it is what it is. It beats no kill switch. It's a hit or miss on them, but she's a runner, made a gorgeous saw. I had a couple little hiccups, mainly an intake boot and an aftermarket mountain flange, but whatever it is, what it is, we got it situated. I think it's going to be a really strong saw. It's making some really good compression, more than I thought it would, but I didn't measure it. That piston did have a pretty good sized pop up on it, and you know, again, not everybody's a fan of them, but you know, if I had a big fancy lathe here, or an old junk lathe that was capable of doing some machine work, you know, we'd do machine work to almost everything we built, I guarantee it, because, you know, I'm a hot rodder and we like to squeak as much power out of everything as we can, but I think she'll do good enough. Hopefully tomorrow I'll get a bar and chain on it and get back here and get some test cuts done with it. Don't get excited. We don't have anything big. I'm on like the last piece of that hemlock I brought home. It's not big at all, but you know, we can do some backyard cookie cutting, and you know, maybe this weekend, if the weather allows, we'll get over to the property and put it in some bigger wood, or just cut up a bunch of smaller stuff and put some time on it. But with that said, I'll bring you guys back tomorrow once we get it out and do some cookie cutting with it. Alright guys, like I said, nothing exciting. All I have here to cut on other than some little branches and stuff smaller than that, but we'll try to get it to the property this weekend if everything pans out well here. It's not been started since last night. We'll just have to see what happens. I absolutely cannot wait to get that into some larger wood. Made one gorgeous saw. Yeah, I guess that's pretty good test. That thing just super ugly and naughty. Not big though, but I'll guarantee you she'll pull good in some bigger wood. But I guess I'm gonna wrap this video up. You can look forward maybe a few days or something, beginning of next week, maybe seeing it in some bigger wood, but if not, you know, we'll eventually get it out there. But hope you enjoyed this. I don't think I've done a lot of ranting in it, so as always, thank you for watching, and if you're subscribed, the little bell beside of where it says subscribe, you can click that and it'll notify you when we've got a new video up. I try to get a couple up a week of some sort, but you know, that doesn't happen all the time. But as always, thank you guys, and y'all have a good one.